Alright guys, well I'm down here at the range today with a really cool shotgun, a new shotgun by Mossberg, and this is the 590M. This is pretty much the exact same 590 action that you would expect out of any other 590 12 gauges or even 20 gauges, but this one has a detachable box magazine that comes 5, 10, 15, and 20 rounds. So I believe this is one of the first videos on YouTube of this actually in the hands of somebody in the wild, not SHOT Show or not a distributor. Now, I want to thank Whittaker Guns. I'm going to start working with these guys. They sent this over to the channel for us to try out. So go check out their website, Whittaker Guns, and I'll leave that link in the description below. Now, these guys are going to be sending over cool, new, high-value, budget deals, all different kinds of guns to the channel. And this is where I want to thank American Pawn Gun because they're shipping and receiving for me. So when I get one in, I'll try it out, and then they're going to send it back for me. So this is a really cool setup, so I can try all new types of guns. So go check out Whittaker Guns. I actually found these guys as I was searching for a Smith & Wesson revolver, and they end up having it like $40 cheaper than everybody else. So I'm super excited to work with these guys. So tube-fed magazine shotguns have been dominant for years, and I think Mossberg is trying to change that with a detachable magazine option. Now this tube is really only here to hold the slide because it has a false tube. There's no way you can put shells in this guy. The only way to load this shotgun is through the detachable magazine. Now let's talk about this magazine real quick. It is big and it is beefy, but it's got metal feed lips and the rest is pretty much polymer. Super easy to disassemble with the button on the bottom, very similar to a Glock. And I've had to disassemble it because as you do drop this magazine, it's got a huge mouth to collect dirt, so you are going to need to disassemble it occasionally to clean that out. But overall, the magazine itself inserts super easy and it actually drops free. So that is a really nice feature that it just drops in and out with ease. They really did a good job of not making this complicated. Now I'm going to try to look away and try to put it in there, and you can see that it attaches really easily without even looking. It's very intuitive. Now you can see on the top right here, it's got cuts on the magazine that actually lock into the receiver. So this is a very specific receiver with specialized cuts in that new 590 receiver. To release it, it's just a push button, and what that does is that actually cams over this mechanism right here. So that allows you to lock it in and then actually depress it, and it drops free. So this is a really cool option that Mossberg has figured out, and they've done a really good job. So I'm super excited to run some rounds through it. It's got all the other standard features like the tang safety on the top and that slide release right here. And overall, it's a very smooth action. Now, I've been shooting it for about 2 range trips, about 100 rounds in. I've got a pretty good opinion about it, but I want to shoot more shells today, do a pattern test, and just run some more rounds through it and see how it performs. So to load this, guys, it's just a top load magazine with steel feed lips. Now this only takes 2 3/4 inch shells. It does not take 3-inch shells. Also, I've seen some things online and read in forums that if you get some longer buckshot or something, even though it says it's 2 3/4 inches, it's very finicky in the magazine. So I've tried a bunch of different shells already, actually 3 or 4, and I've had some mixed reliability, but we'll talk about that reliability in a minute after I try the rest of these shells. Now once you get down to the bottom, it's a little bit stiff, but overall, it's actually fairly easy to load. Let's shoot these guys. So I found that if you rack the slide back and keep the action open, when you have a full 10 rounds, it's easier to load in. Now this one actually comes with a 10-round magazine, and I don't have any others, but let's start shooting this and see how it does. That is really cool. It worked really well with that Winchester Birdshot. And talking about that reliability, it seems like the cheaper shells, the really cheap $4 boxes of Federal or the really cheap estate shells, they don't feed really well. They're rough around the edges. A lot of times they'll get stuck going into the tube. So we'll talk about all of that reliability in a minute, but it seems like if you buy the nicer shells like this Winchester, it feeds very reliably out of that box magazine. So I've got some Remington double-aught buck, and I'm gonna do a pattern test. This is an 18.5-inch barrel, and I think I mentioned this earlier. Everything else on this 590 is interchangeable. I would like to see like a pistol grip, 6-position adjustable stock on something like this, so that is something you can easily change out and use. You can also change out the forend and add different sight options, because the top of this 590 receiver is drilled and tapped for an optics rail, so you could drop a red dot on there. So you could really make this thing as tactical as you wanted, or just leave it as a plain Jane detachable magazine fed shotgun. But I'm at 7 yards. I'm gonna do a pattern test with double-aught buck on that flat screen broken TV. Looks like the pattern at this distance with double-aught buck is about the size of my hand. I'm gonna take a few steps back and shoot the rest of this at the steel and some other targets. I actually checked the pattern. It's more like the size of my fist. At about 10 or 11 yards now, shoot the TV and then shoot some steel. Okay, pattern opened up a lot more now, so that is pretty cool. So it ran that double-aught buck flawlessly, super smooth, and I also felt like I didn't have to rack it as hard. I think that extended brass, the high brass shells, actually goes on the feed lip a little bit better and allows it to capture a little bit better. I noticed with the low brass shells, sometimes they get gummy on the feed lips. So this is definitely designed to run those high brass shells. Well, in my opinion anyways, it runs those a little bit better than your low brass shells. So now I've got that cheap Federal Birdshot loaded in here one more time. I think I got about 9 or 10 rounds in the magazine. Again, let's see how this functions with the cheaper stuff. I found in the past it has feed issues. It doesn't go in the tube, or it pulls out funny. It's just a lot harder to remove the action with this cheaper stuff. But let's give it one more try now that I've got about 150 to 200 rounds through this shotgun. All right, well, it actually feels like it's smoothed up and ran it really well, so very impressed. I may run a few more rounds to make sure it wasn't a fluke. Ran those pretty good. So in summary, this is a really innovative and pretty slick design. I love the fact that they did the magazines right and the fact that they are incredibly easy to detach and insert. I imagine if you got a few of these and shoved them in some type of sling pack you wore in your backpack, that would be a really easy way to carry a lot of rounds with you to reload really quickly. Now, there's a few things that I don't like about this shotgun, and that is the fact that, well, it wasn't as reliable as I would like to see in the early stages of shooting. It actually got more reliable as I shot it, so I'm not sure if it's breaking in or what's going on, but it definitely seems to like high brass shells and more expensive shells better than the cheaper stuff. As when I was inspecting the shells, I noticed some rougher edges and different things on those cheaper Federals and Rio shells and estate shells that I was shooting. And in the early stages, again, I had some feed issues. But today, it actually ran 100% flawless. So everything fed really well, especially that high brass shell. So I really like the fact that it is reliable when you use nicer ammo. I also like the fact that all the accessories are interchangeable with a standard Mossberg 590, and you get that trusty action. I like the fact that they went with that 18.5-inch barrel because it's more of a home defense or tactical shotgun. So I want to give a huge shout out to Whittaker Guns for sending this over to the channel for us to try out. I wouldn't have been able to get this otherwise, so it's really cool to see some new and interesting firearms on the channel. So go check those guys out again. A link will be in the description below, and follow my Instagram and their Instagram, and check them out on Facebook. Also, search their website if you're looking for a particular type of firearm. They've got some really good deals and free shipping options, so you can't go wrong with that. Also, again, thanks to American Pawn & Gun for just stepping up and doing all the transfers for these, coming in and then going back to Whittaker Guns. So overall, really cool shotgun. Super glad I tried it, and I'm really excited to see what Mossberg does with this line of shotguns in the future. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.